Good morning. It's October 13th, just before 7 a.m., and I thought I'd give a quick update into Bitcoin and the altcoins, current state and positions. First, Bitcoin. If you remember, yesterday we were in extreme greed, and I said it's, as I have many times before, when you're in extreme greed, and I'll just flip over to that chart real quick. Yesterday was 78, which was extreme greed. I said, usually when there's extreme greed in the market and for Bitcoin, there's a slight correction, and there was. Today now it has moved down to just into the greed range. This is exactly what happened a few days ago. It hit extreme greed, and there was a slight correction back to greed. It went up for a couple of days, hit extreme greed again yesterday, and of course there's a correction. So what do I think? Right now, it's still bullish for Bitcoin. It's above this 0.618 Fibonacci level. I will show one thing which I've mentioned a couple of times. Let me bring out the Fibonacci tool once again. You've seen it, if you've watched my videos, you've seen it many times, from the high to the low, where it bounced off the 0.618 to 0.65 Fibonacci level here, came back, retested it. That's where I got out of this position, just in case there was a retest. And it was overnight, so I wasn't there to manage it. In retrospect, of course, it would have been good to just let it run. But if you got in when I told you to here during extreme fear, when I put out the video on September 30th, you would currently be sitting very good, of course, as I've already gone over with. If you were still holding, you'd be at about 30% profits on that trade that I recommended here. But for the simple swing trades, I'm out of that. But what do I think is going to happen now? One thing, actually, before I go to that, you'll see it bounced right off the next Fibonacci level, the 0.786, which I mentioned several days ago, that for Bitcoin to go for the all-time highs, it would have to get past this zone right here, which is from this last swing high to this 0.618 Fibonacci level. And as you can see, it bounced off that level, hit extreme greed. All of that was bearish in the short term. I still believe that right now Bitcoin is definitely in a bullish uptrend, a clear uptrend, and it has been since the very last day of September, and it has gone up since then. We're just seeing a couple of short-term, very short-term cool-offs because it's bouncing off of that extreme greed level. So let me remove the Fibonacci tool, make it a little clearer. So what do I think is going to happen with Bitcoin today? Well, your guess might be as good as mine, but generally what I think is going to happen today is it's going to bounce at some point. I don't know when, but I would guess that since we're now down to 70 and in just greed zone, people are going to buy. And another thing makes me think that, let me flip over to the combined order book, which I've gone over before, and I'll just hit it again. I don't use this for very much other than general. Look at the amount of orders and kind of use that as just a very general gauge about what's likely to happen. As you can see, unlike yesterday, which had a much higher amount of sell orders than buy orders, today it's exactly the opposite. There are a huge amount of buy orders in comparison to sell orders at this level, and there's some massive walls. First big step is about 53,500 should Bitcoin drop that low. Another large wall at 52,500, and then a massive buy wall at 52,000. So again, I think that's generally bullish for Bitcoin. There's a lot more buy orders than sell orders, just generally. So, I mean, that could change at any moment, of course, but generally that's more bullish. If Bitcoin does drop down to these levels here, which as you just saw in the order book, the orders that are just sitting out there waiting to happen, massive amounts of orders at these levels. And as you can see why those levels are what they are. I mean, we're back down to that Fibonacci level, and now that's a support zone. You see it in the order book as well. Massive amounts of orders in this area right here, which should propel the price up. Okay, enough of Bitcoin. The altcoins, starting with Ethereum, still down a little. It has been coming down. I don't have a position in it. I do have one because I didn't have a hit on my strategy. I did in Link, which I took when I had that strategy hit, and currently it's doing okay. As you can tell, probably I did not move my stop loss overnight. I just let it run, and it's doing fine. Dogecoin, same thing. Got a sell signal, which I did. I went short. It's currently doing okay. Had I moved my stop loss, I would have, as you can tell right there, would have stopped out overnight, but didn't. It's still riding. Cardano, same thing. Basically, it's in the same position. And typically, not always, but typically the altcoins do that. They all pretty much behave similarly. Again, there are lots of exceptions to that, but as a general rule. So to Solana, here I did alter my stop loss because it's just been bouncing around this range, and you can see it seems to be forming this wedge right here, this wedge pattern, and it's tightening up, it's coiling up for a move. I actually think the move looks a little more bullish when you consider this. If you see it more as a pennant type pattern, I think it's more likely to break to the upside, but it could break anyway. But there is this support level down here. Now it has tested and bounced off of. It also has the 50 period moving average, the 50-day moving average, which it has been testing and finding support. So that's the main reason I've basically decided I'm just gonna get out of this trade because I don't know what's gonna happen, whether it's gonna break up or down. Figure I'll either take a small loss or take my cheeseburger and run and move on and see what it's gonna do. If it breaks to the upside, great, I can take a long position. If it breaks to the downside, great, I'll take a short position. Litecoin, same thing. I'm in a short position. I actually got kind of a fake out on my strategy. It showed to go short, and then when it had this huge move to the upside, well, this fairly good move to the upside, the strategy signal went away, so I was kind of in a short position. The only reason I left it and just didn't close the position is only because all the altcoins seem to be moving generally to the downside, so I let it ride, and currently it's doing fine. Another cheeseburger. I have nothing in SNX right now. The last time I had a signal was up here, and as you can see, I did, as it was moving down, I did sell. I bought back actually, and I sold here. I went long, went short for just scalping, went long, went short. I guess when it popped up here somewhere, I made it a little bit, and so forth. I am not in a current position, and I won't be in one probably until I get a signal. Ren, just like the others. Got to see them to go short a few days ago. Let it ride overnight the last couple of nights, and it's currently doing okay. And that's about, well, actually, I'll talk about one other thing. The Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. The reason I want to show you this is this basically gives you an idea of how the altcoins are going to perform against Bitcoin. When it's going down, Bitcoin is performing better than the altcoins. And as you can see, Bitcoin has been in an uptrend. All the altcoins are more in a downtrend, and you can see that right here. Ethereum is losing value to Bitcoin, is what that means. The Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. I want to show you one other thing, though. A lot of people switched over at the very end of the month, September 30th, October 1st. Many people switch over to Ethereum, so they'll convert their Bitcoin to Ethereum. Why? If you look at every single month for many months, and it just keeps going back in history, every single month, the last day of the month, if you had switched into Ethereum from Bitcoin, you would have gained money, because that means that Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin. And in this case, it's here, it would have been a 13.5% gain had you just switched over. In this case, I mean, if you wrote it to the top, you're talking about a almost 64% improvement. And you get the idea. If you did this every single month, you would have gained. And people did this month. A lot of people did this. I even got a signal here on my strategy to do that, as I did pretty much every month. But I did not switch over to Ethereum. I kept going with Bitcoin. And the reason is because it didn't break above this level right here, this resistance that it seemed to me it formed every month. I mean, there's not a lot of touch points. It's 2. But if it had touched here and gone back down to the downside, then it would have been a bad move to move it into Bitcoin. Here, I mean, into Ethereum from Bitcoin. Here, it broke above this and continued on, so it was a good move. Same thing here. As soon as it started this downtrend, until it breaks above this, I personally don't think it's a great move to switch over. But once it does, then you're making money over Bitcoin. This month, same thing. It's kind of coming down all month. Had you switched over, you'd been better off at the peak to switch back to Bitcoin and ride this down. At this end of the month, beginning of the month, many people switched over to Ethereum from Bitcoin right at the change of the month, like it had worked every single month in the past. And if you did that, it would have been not a great move. You would have lost about 14% so far on that move. I didn't do it because it tested this level. Now it has 3 touch points and it rejected at this level. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, because you may hear people talk about switching over to Ethereum, at the end of every month. And generally, yes, it has worked out great for you. I actually have that signal in my strategy as well, but those 2 alone are not enough for me. If I have more confluence like this, breaking above this each time, to me that makes even more sense. So I hope this helps you. I'm sorry how long this video was, but hopefully you get something out of it. If you want these videos as soon as they happen, you'll have to subscribe with notifications on. Have a great day and happy trading.